Hello and welcome back to the Desert Rats Racing League. Today we're going to go ahead and start with some highlights from our Session 2 Race 2 over at historic Imola, and then we'll head into our actual final race of the session at Indianapolis with our commentator. Let's go ahead and take a look into these highlights from Adelaide. 4 of our drivers are debuting for the first time this season, with our leader Mordair setting a surprising pole position for this session, followed by Creature, John, and Bossolini showing up for the first time this season in Session 1, 2, and soon to be 3. An amazing start for Mordair starts off our race. Let's go ahead and see what else happens. And as we begin Sector 2, Creature has managed to overtake Mordair here. Let's see what Mordair will be able to do as we enter into the downhill. Amazing line from all of our racers here as we enter into a heavy braking zone up ahead. And it looks like Mordair wasn't able to keep it into the turn, losing control, which is going to let Creature have full control of that lead of the race now. An intense first lap continues as our 4 cars fight for first as Bossolini in the back is spinning out over the curb. That's unfortunate for him as 2 of our drivers have lost control in the start of this race. Let's keep going. 5 laps into this race and Creature is unrelenting, not giving a second to Raccoon to be able to pass, but Raccoon's not giving up yet, keeping that pace throughout the race, and John's not too far behind as we see in the camera. And here we come flying into our final few turns of the race. Creature was able to keep the lead the whole time, not giving Raccoon a single chance to overtake, with our 3rd place position going to John, and 4th place to Bossolini, with Mordair in the back a few paces behind. This was an incredible race, with Creature having a dominating lead the whole time. Let's go ahead and head into Indianapolis. And to present our special race of the day for Session 2, Race 3 is Indianapolis, with Carlos Quintao leading in the front of our pack. He was our runner-up from Season 0 and more than likely would have taken the championship if it wasn't for missing a race. And then following him up in second, we have John, followed by Raccoon, Shift's own Finesse, Shift's Bossolini, and Mordair following up the back of the pack in 6th. Today is going to be an exciting race, so we'll go ahead and let Webbo take over in the commentary box.
Hey, thanks so much. It's great to be back with you all. Let's drop the clutch and go, go, go at the start of the 10-lap round here at Indianapolis, infield at the Motor Speedway. Going backwards, of course, down the famous Brickyard as Quintao streaks into an early lead with a great launch across. We've got Finesse going for the move down the inside, but not quite able to make it as John screams into 2nd position beautifully. Quintao then way ahead with the taxi stripes on the Mini, looking fantastic out there. Let's hope he's not out there charging by the hour, and already gaining a good 2.5 through the difficult turns 4, 5, 6 down onto the back straightaway, the inside straightaway near the golf course, of course, as we go down towards turn 7, and it's Quintao well ahead of John, Finesse, and that looks like Raccoon just behind in the famous black and gold. There we have Finesse settling at the moment into 3rd position, but very keen, I'm sure, to get his equal performance, equal setup Mini back into contention for one of the 2 top steps on our podium. Raccoon, though, a very quick driver in his own right, and I'm sure biding his time as they head out onto the famous banked oval, and back then very quickly into the infield once again. A very, very challenging circuit configuration, and that looks like it's John going a little bit out of shape there, and in fact he's changed livery mid-race but John has shot down to 4th place, promoting Finesse. And how about this with Raccoon? What a fantastic draft he's got heading down as we see Finesse going for a little bit of a defensive move. John shies away from it, then shows himself in the mirror. Can we go for a dive bomb in towards turn 1? It's not quite on as Raccoon plays the waiting game all this time, though, allowing Quintao to get away by almost 3 seconds here on the start of lap 2. Tremendous pace shown already by Quintao. The rest of the standings, John in 4th, we've got Bossolini in 5th with Mordair in 6th place, heading through the chicane, able to use the curbs nicely in his in his BMW Mini here is Raccoon, almost bump drafting him down here underneath the overpass there, the pedestrian overpass, reaching the golf course on the inside and down in towards turn 7. Tries Raccoon, just holding it to the limit of track limits there and making a fabulous overtake for second position. Car 71 in the ascendancy. Here is car 5, Bossolini, abusing those inside curbs as every good racer should. In 5th place with Mordair, strangely enough, following in 6th place after his great performance in Imola. But of course, these are incredibly different racetracks. Of course, the cars remain very, very similar. Car 33, Finesse then. On the look back for some great revenge here. This is Quintao with a commanding 4.5 second lead as they finish out lap 3. Raccoon unable really to close the gap here, with John chasing down Finesse and trying to get on the back of this one. Looks like Finesse and Raccoon are close together. Bossolini and Mordair also as a pair come through. Then that was Finesse pushed out, or at least boxed out to the outside here. Finesse, I think he was avoiding action actually under the action replay. Looks like it was a loss of control, possibly a little bit late on the brakes. John slots through nicely and says thank you very much. I'll take that one back. The number 99 in the red and white. John recovering from his earlier moment, very similar to what we just saw from Finesse. A loss of control, a trip out onto the exits of the corners and allowing rivals through. But look at the field spread already. This is a phenomenal difference in these precisely managed cars. Obviously we have ×2 tyre wear here, and at an abrasive circuit such as Indianapolis, this is going to factor in later on. It's also a warm day, 26 degrees on the track temperature, certainly on ambient temperature. Track temperature way up at 46 degrees Celsius. Raccoon in 2nd place, John there in the 3rd place. We saw Mordair has got past Bossolini for 5th position, so perhaps a hint now that Mordair is unlocking a little bit of pace here and getting himself sort of aligned and ready to bring himself forward as soon as possible. Here is on board the hood of Finesse for a briefest of moments as we cut back to Quintao, who leads now by 6 seconds. He is gaining 2 seconds a lap at this stage on the rest of the field. Quintao certainly showing up both himself and then showing up all the other drivers in the league at this Indianapolis circuit on this day in history at very least. John is only 1.5 seconds behind Raccoon at this stage. Finesse fading slightly and perhaps has got the most out of his tyres at this point in proceedings. It's lap 4 as we head down the back straight. I'm unfamiliar with any particular corner names here, so I'm tempted to make up my own as the fans watch on from the infield. The number 99 heads on through into turn 8, 9, and then 10, which leads on to the famous banking of essentially the traditional turn 2 here at Indy. Put up onto the banking just for the merest of moments. And we really don't get to enjoy a great deal of the Brickyard at this particular layout. Although I would say in AMS it looks to be slightly easier to tell where to turn than it is in the likes of ACC, certainly by my eye anyway. And here is John then, and he's now getting certainly within the draft zone here of Raccoon, going very close to the outside wall as we pass by the end of lap 4. There's the famous yard of bricks as the drivers head under the catch fencing here, and the long run down towards turn 1. Big late braking opportunity. But of course these Mini Coopers do need to be treated gently with the brakes. They are not they're not the typical sports cars or formula cars that of course have those tremendous stopping power. Raccoon drifting wide as he goes through turn 4, just about switches back in time, but this is definitely going to hand an opportunity over to John, who fades to the right. Will we see him duck over to the left, or is he going to try and go all the way around the outside? Looks like Raccoon has got this covered for now, but John is able to brake later. Oh, that was pinpoint accuracy from John, pleasing his Calyx Protection sponsors no end, I'm sure, because we'll be watching that one over and over again. Raccoon, though, coming straight back at him, and fabulous action here in this beautiful day of racing for the Indianapolis, Indiana circuit, of course. We've got Quintao now 6.9, almost 7 seconds in the lead momentarily ahead of John. This battle has Raccoon just behind, and then Finesse in 4th, a further 4 seconds back from this battle, with Mordair a 10-second gap between himself and Finesse, and Bossellini at the back, but trying his absolute best here, and heading on then. Gap entering lap 6, Quintao 7.4 seconds. This is astonishing speed. I wonder if he has held on to enough tyre grip later on. In fact, I think such is the closing speed that Quintao is actually catching, as Raccoon rear ends John for a moment there. We're going to see that again, as it's so easy done. You're caught in the draft, you're going to have reduced aero performance, and you're going to have unsighted braking position, a big bump in the backside for John, but Raccoon does not take advantage of that contact, and sits back, so not to gain any kind of advantage, and indicate, I think, as best as he can to John that was completely unintentional. So lots still of racing to go. Here is how things qualified, as they are in the race as they qualified. John ahead of Raccoon. So this is as they were in qualifying pace, but of course race management is always a different situation, and that's why we go racing and we qualify. We don't just stick everybody in reverse order, for example. As I love to see the Mini kick a wheel up in the air, and Raccoon is clearly pushing very hard. His outside rear tyre just lifting off the racetrack surface. He's trying to do his best to get onto that more advantageous straightaway as quickly as possible. Down into the final 3 corners then, turn 12, 13 and 14 of this 6th lap of the 10. And already it looks like the leader has absolutely checked out. The only thing that's going to stop him is a loss of focus or a complete drop-off of tyre performance. I think that's unlikely at this point, though. And we head down in towards that braking point again. Will Raccoon be able to judge it slightly better? He is ever so slightly later than John on the brakes. He can kind of use that and a clear sky overhead, but he can use that leader in front of him as a reference for when to brake, or how late to brake, shall we say. But continuing there to follow in the wheel tracks. The pressure on John is absolutely mounting, and obviously most drivers are in a position where they would rather be the hunter than the hunted, going in towards the final section of a race. This is Carlos Quintao. For a moment at least, he was Season 0 runner-up, only because he missed out on so many races, it seems, but racing out of Portugal, or at least hailing from Portugal. I'm not sure if he's racing by way of a different state, but we will see. Season 0 champion there, K1 Speed League, 14th of 148 for Raccoon, 4th of 31st in 2022 as well. Season 0 champion, and the number 71 clearly got a great deal of pace underneath him, as we saw in the previous rounds, but Raccoon now needing to strike the balance here of risk versus reward. Try and go for the move. He would dearly love to come in second and make sure he's maximising the points, while Quintao is right here. A shift to the inside, no obvious defence coming from John, as he's relying on Raccoon outbraking himself. A switchback attempt here going the over-under, but Raccoon judging that one absolutely spot on and moving through in towards P2 with just a lap and a half remaining. This is on board with the headless John at this stage of proceedings. It's great for visibility, but it is slightly spooky as he's basically an empty race suit. But back to the hood cam then, and you can see the speed advantage that he has on board, an extra mile an hour or two as he brakes heavily down in towards turn 7. Missed that bollard on the inside and really getting a little bit too much of that heavy apex curb and hopping over. I think it looked like some trackside furniture disappearing across the racetrack for a moment there. That might mean that Raccoon can extend his gap as much as possible. Here he goes up onto the famous Brickyard surface and back off it again in the blink of an eye for turns 12 and 13. We'll get an opportunity to get onto that fantastic asphalt for the start-finish line only, really, as Quintal starts his penultimate lap now, lap 9 of the 10. Here he is on board, and the gap stabilising at 9 seconds, I think, at this stage. I think now managing the gap, and clearly tyres not quite where they were earlier in the race, but has he done enough here to guarantee for himself the win by pushing so much and so hard at the start of this race, grabbing the lead by the scruff of the neck and dominating at this stage. But still, the 2 laps to go. Anything can happen here, but he definitely has a lot less pressure on him than the other drivers in the field. Here is Raccoon coming through then in second position. Looks like John still not letting Raccoon get away with this one. John now in the position of Hunter, as they are going to get the double tow situation. This is a drive-through now for Muldair. Didn't pick up exactly what that was all about, but clearly a transgression, presumably for being off the circuit and gaining an advantage, I think, for that drive-through penalty. That's pretty harsh and difficult one for Muldair to take, but he should still bring it home in 5th position. Here we go. So the build-up then to that final lap down the famous straightaway for Raccoon, leading ahead of John here for that battle for second place. But Quintal now 11.7 seconds, as Raccoon is definitely feeling the pressure from behind. I'm sure he's staring in his mirrors a great deal as we cut back to the John point of view. How late do we decide to move to the inside here? Raccoon hasn't put in a defense yet. John could go for a real dive bomb, but he's staying tucked up, keeping Raccoon guessing, getting a slightly wider line through the next corner. But once again, Raccoon equal to this performance. John with much better grip coming out of turn 2 into turn 3. He can't really exploit that advantage. Raccoon running wide though now, and surely that's John over, doing the over-under in the infield section between turns 4 and 5. And that one was really out of nowhere and powering onto the infield straightaway, and he's got a distinct advantage now. This is very, very well timed from John. Can Raccoon close in and get the slipstream, get the draft on the all-important exit out of the final corner? That has to be his target, but by the look of things, those tyres are not enabling him to turn to the right as efficiently as John at this stage. Quintal checking out and is entering the final phase of this fabulous Indianapolis race. Quintal looks to be heading onto the oval, back onto the oval Brickyard asphalt, and here he goes then. John is going to take this one comfortably at a canter by 12 clear seconds after 10 laps. Here comes John though, with Raccoon right behind him. We get the view slightly obscured by some trucks in the background, but here he is, John managing to complete that with a final lap overtake. Fabulous stuff from him, and there you have it then. Raccoon 3rd, Finesse 4th, Muldair 5th, and Barcelini picking up 4 points for a hard-fought race as well. So brilliant stuff to see, and we will go back to the studio.
And thank you again, Webbo, for helping us out in this session. After that, Raccoon is leading, followed by Finesse and Darius in third. This is looking to be a wonderful season with a lot of competitive drivers. We hope to see you next time in the Desert Rats Racing League.